trying to frame it like the WNBA owners are lying and they are making money. We got to get into this, man. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. That would be greatly appreciated. Got my workout outfit on. We about to hit the gym, but I had to get into this news. They said some bread was made around here. Let's get in.
Watch that energy. That's not just commentary. That's someone who's been tracking this league's finances for years, finally seeing a breakthrough. Because for the first time in WNBA history, the league just triggered revenue sharing with players. $8 million split across 13 teams. After 29 years of losses, the owners are finally cutting checks. But here's where this gets complicated. The WNBA Players Association announced this milestone in January 2025, right in the middle of contentious CBA negotiations. The timing isn't coincidental. Union President Nneka Ogwumike told ESPN directly, "It's fair to say that part of this announcement is us being ready and displaying that we are ready." Translation, this is leverage. The players are using this $8 million pot to justify their demand for a 50-50 revenue split in the new collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, this is on Underdog WNBA. Katie Barnes. WNBA generated enough revenue in 2025 to trigger revenue sharing with players for the first time. For the first time. Per Katie Barnes, teams will receive a pot of $8 million to be dispersed among players. So,
now pay attention to what's being said here, because there's a critical detail everyone's missing. The WNBA declined to provide bank statements. They declined to share the actual revenue numbers that triggered this payment. ESPN's Katie Barnes reported that the league hit a predetermined threshold based on 2019 revenue compounded by 20% annually. But without seeing the actual financials, we're taking the league's word that they crossed into profitability. This matters because the last time we got hard numbers on WNBA finances, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert told CNBC in 2022 that the league had lost roughly $10 million per year on average since its founding in 1996. That's nearly $300 million in cumulative losses over 26 years. So either the 2024 season generated enough revenue to not only cover operating costs, but exceed that predetermined threshold, or the threshold was set low enough to guarantee a payment during negotiations.
Which was last year, and I make no mistake about it, this is off the back of Caitlin Clark. Even though she only played 13 games, Caitlin Clark put this league on her back, put them in the green for the first time. Y'all should be thanking her. Okay,
and there it is. The elephant in the room that nobody in the league office wants to acknowledge. This revenue spike happened in 2024, Caitlin Clark's rookie season. The year she brought 3.2 million viewers to her draft, making it the most watched WNBA draft in history. The year Fever Games averaged 1.2 million viewers on ESPN, nearly triple the league average. The year attendance jumped 48% league-wide. The correlation isn't subtle. Indiana Fever attendance alone increased by more than 300% compared to 2023. Their away games became must-see events, with opposing teams moving games to larger arenas to accommodate demand. The Connecticut Sun relocated a Fever game to a minor league baseball stadium and sold over 19,000 tickets. That's not organic league growth. That's the Caitlin Clark effect.
They deserve their money. They deserve their cut.
Sure.
They've helped build this league into what it is. That's the one side. The other side is that the owners have been here too. And they're saying over a lengthy period of time, we've been losing money. We ain't trying to lose more. And that's where the lines are drawn in the sand. So what you have to ask yourself as ladies is, look at what you've built.
Stephen A. Smith nails the fundamental tension here. The owners have been hemorrhaging money for 3 decades. They've subsidized this league through 29 consecutive losing seasons. Now in year 30, they finally see green, and immediately the players want to renegotiate the entire economic structure. From the owner's perspective, this looks like terrible timing. They've invested hundreds of millions over decades, absorbed losses every single year, and the moment they hit one profitable season, the union wants to fundamentally alter the revenue split. The current CBA gives players 50% of shared revenue only after subtracting 30% for expenses. The players' new proposal asks for 27.5% of all basketball-related income with no expense deductions. That's a massive structural change. But here's the players' counter-argument, and it's not without merit. They built this. Angel Reese, Breanna Stewart, Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu. These players created the foundation that made Caitlin Clark's arrival so impactful. The league had credibility and competitive integrity because veterans established a high level of play. Clark walked into a legitimate professional league, not a startup. The players argue they deserve to share in the growth they helped create, even if one rookie became the catalyst for mainstream attention.
Whoever is the marketing, whether it's the Caitlin Clark, it's the Ionescu's, or anybody else, ride those waves unapologetically because ultimately it builds the popularity.
That last line is critical. Ride those waves unapologetically, because the league absolutely did not do that in 2024. Instead of building the entire marketing strategy around their biggest star, we saw jealousy, resentment, and outright hostility toward Caitlin Clark from both players and media. Remember the white privilege comments from Cheryl Swoops, who repeatedly misstated Clark's college statistics on national television? Remember Chennedy Carter's blindside hip check that left Clark on the floor, followed by Carter's "that's that" comment to reporters? Remember Dejanai Carrington claiming Clark's popularity was about race, not skill? Remember Angel Reese liking social media posts, celebrating when Clark got hit? The league had a golden opportunity to unite behind their transcendent talent and instead allowed a toxic narrative to develop. Veterans complained about the attention she received while simultaneously benefiting from the increased viewership and attendance she generated. It was self-sabotage in real time.
Do not want to strike. Nobody wants a work stoppage, but at the end of the day, we do have to be ready. So as we continue to negotiate, us being ready is imperative. It's fair to say that part of this announcement is us being ready and displaying that we are ready. Often things tend to get done at the 11th.
Nneka Ogwumike's quote reveals the strategic calculation behind this announcement. "We've grown as a union and put our name, image, and likeness into a collective package." She's framing this $8 million payment as proof that collective bargaining works, that the union's approach of packaging everyone together creates shared prosperity. But that framing deliberately obscures individual value. Caitlin Clark's name, image, and likeness is worth exponentially more than most players in the league. Her Iowa jersey outsold every WNBA team's merchandise combined in 2023. Her rookie season jersey sales broke WNBA records. Attendance spiked specifically for her games, not league-wide across all matchups equally. The union's collective approach means Clark's individual market value gets redistributed across all players through revenue sharing. That's the entire point of unionization, collective bargaining over individual negotiation. But it also means the player generating the majority of new revenue doesn't capture the majority of that value. She gets the same revenue share percentage as everyone else, despite being the primary driver of growth.
That's what Adam Silver had to say. But it appears that Caitlin Clark has finally brought in enough money for this league after 29, nearly 30 years of these owners losing money. It only took Caitlin Clark 2 years to make them some money. Get down in the comments.
So let's break down what this $8 million payment actually means, because the number itself is less impressive than it sounds. 13 teams splitting $8 million equals roughly $615,000 per team. Divided among 12 roster spots, that's about $51,000 per player. Not nothing, but not life-changing money for professional athletes. Compare that to what the players are asking for in the new CBA. They want 27.5% of basketball-related income, up from the current 50% of shared revenue after expense deductions. The difference in those formulas is enormous. Basketball-related income includes everything: ticket sales, broadcast rights, sponsorships, merchandise, licensing. Shared revenue under the current CBA is a much narrower calculation that excludes many income streams and deducts 30% for expenses before the 50-50 split happens. If the league generated enough revenue in 2024 to trigger an $8 million payment under the old formula, how much would that same revenue have generated under the proposed new formula? Probably 3 to 4 times as much. That's why the union announced this payment publicly during negotiations. They're showing ownership that the league is profitable enough to support a more generous structure. But here's what the players aren't acknowledging. One profitable season doesn't erase 3 decades of losses. If you invest $300 million over 29 years and finally make a profit in year 30, you're still down $290 million. The owners aren't greedy for wanting to recoup some of their investment before fundamentally restructuring the economic model. They're being rational business operators. The real question is whether 2024 represents a sustainable new baseline or an outlier driven by a once-in-a-generation talent. If Caitlin Clark's impact was a one-time spike that won't repeat in 2025 and beyond, then the players are negotiating based on an anomaly. If her presence permanently elevated the league's profile and future revenue will remain at or above 2024 levels, then the players have a stronger case for a bigger piece of the pie. Early signs from 2025 aren't encouraging for the sustainability argument. Clark suffered a torn meniscus in January that required surgery, sidelining her for 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. The Fever's first preseason game without her drew significantly lower viewership than their 2024 games. Attendance projections for April games before her expected return are down compared to last season. The league's television ratings for early season games not involving Clark are tracking closer to 2023 levels than 2024 levels. This is the owner's nightmare scenario. Players demanding a massive increase in compensation based on one extraordinary season, only to see revenue revert to historical norms once the catalyst for that growth is injured or less prominent. It's why ownership is reluctant to commit to a new economic structure based on 2024 numbers alone. They need to see multiple years of sustained growth before they're willing to fundamentally change how revenue gets distributed. The players counter that they can't wait multiple years to get paid fairly. They argue that athletes in their 20s and early 30s have short career windows and can't afford to defer compensation while ownership waits for more data. Breanna Stewart will be 33 when the current CBA expires. Aja Wilson will be 31. They don't have 5 years to wait and see if the growth continues. They need to maximize earnings now during their prime years. Both sides have legitimate arguments. The owners invested hundreds of millions and deserve to recoup losses before sharing profits. The players generate the product and deserve to be compensated based on current market value, not historical losses they didn't cause. It's a classic labor management dispute with no obvious right answer. What makes this situation unique is Caitlin Clark's role. She's the reason this $8 million payment exists. She's the reason the union has any leverage in these negotiations. And yet she's also the player who benefits least from the collective bargaining structure the union is fighting to protect. Her individual market value far exceeds what she'll ever capture through revenue sharing. If Clark wanted to maximize her earnings, she'd be better off in a system with less revenue sharing and more individual negotiation. She could command a salary multiple times higher than the league maximum if teams could bid for her services in an open market. But that system would devastate pay for mid-tier and role players who don't drive viewership or attendance. The union exists to prevent that exact outcome, to ensure everyone benefits from the league's success regardless of individual star power. So here we are. The WNBA just had its first profitable season in 3 decades, entirely because one player captured mainstream attention. That players' union is using that profitability to demand a restructured economic model that would pay her less than her individual market value in order to raise pay for everyone else. And the owners who lost money for 29 straight years are being painted as greedy for wanting to see sustained growth before committing to that restructure. The $8 million payment is real. The question is what it represents. Is it proof that the WNBA has finally achieved sustainable profitability? Or is it a one-year anomaly driven by a generational talent who might not have the same impact in year 2? Your answer to that question determines which side you're on in this negotiation. Drop a comment and let me know where you stand, because this is about to get very messy before it gets resolved.